Hello and welcome to Grief Seeds, a podcast where you'll find insights, reframings, metaphors, and visualizations, all known as grief seeds, to help you cultivate growth and healing in your life after loss. My name is Shelby Forsythia. I'm an intuitive grief guide and author, and on this show, I'll share insights from my interactions with clients, wise words from fellow grievers, and personal stories from my own life, with the hope that they transform your grief as they have transformed mine. Because even when it doesn't feel like it, we are planting the seeds of growth in the midst of great pain and heartache. Your grief is welcome here. Hi there, grief growers, and welcome to another episode of Grief Seeds. This week, I want to hang out in the dirt with you. And this may seem like a funny or an odd thing to say, so I will get right into telling you what I mean. A few years ago, I was working with a client who'd suffered the devastating loss of a baby, and several of them, actually, through miscarriage, through stillbirth, through medical complications, so many losses of so many babies, but also so many dreams and futures, and just the weight of carrying that hope for so long and then to have it die was absolutely heart-wrenching. And this client of mine encountered so many people who kept telling them, you just have to get back on the horse. You just have to try again. You just have to keep putting your best foot forward, keep going, keep making attempts. If you want the dream so bad, why aren't you racing towards it with every fiber of your being? And of course, they came to sessions, and our response to that was, because she's grieving. We are not designed to relentlessly pursue anything as humans. We are not robots. We are not machines. We cannot program ourselves to go, go, go with absolutely no pause or rest or time for grief. And that's exactly what my client needed. And she said, people keep telling me to get back on the horse, but all I want to do is hang out in the dirt for a while. What's so bad about staying down in the dirt? And I think so much of what we tell ourselves in grief and what we hear from other people is that to stop motion, to stop relentlessly pursuing, to stop consciously moving forward is another kind of death in some way. It means something else is wrong with you. It means that you may never get back on the horse again. It might be like a prescription of doom. Like, if I don't get back on the horse right now, I'm never going to get back on the horse ever again. And we spiral ourselves down into this place of despair and almost into cheerleading ourselves into engaging with pursuits or activities or life in a way that doesn't feel aligned to us in our grief. We really do want to stay down in the dirt for a while and just sit here. Let other people on their horses trample by. Let them canter along, pursuing what they need to pursue. Let other people with the same griefs or the same dreams that I have go right on by. And let me just sit here in the dirt and pull up grass and lie down and look at the clouds and cry my heart out and forage around for more supplies before I get back on this horse again. Let me do those things. Give me permission to be. I think this is a lot of permissions all kind of bundled up into one when we say, I don't want to get back on the horse. I want to hang out in the dirt for a while. It's permission to pause, survey the land, take stock of what has happened to us, develop some kind of story around it and figure out where it goes for us, make meaning. It's also permission to rest, literally to take naps, to lie down, to sit here and stare for a while without having to produce anything of it. It's permission to not be generative or productive, which if you live in westernized society in our capitalistic culture, this is really hard to do, to just stop, because our value so often is determined by what we create and how fast we are creating it. So it's permission to stop creating or producing for a little bit. And it's permission at its core to engage with grief and with ourselves as grievers. Because while at some point in the aftermath of loss, we do get back up on a horse, it may not be the same one we were traveling on, it may not be in the same direction, it may not be for the same dream or pursuit because of the losses that we have endured. We will eventually get back on a horse. While we will one day get back on a horse, sometimes being on a horse stops us from grieving. So if your friends, your family, your doctors, your nurses, your bosses, your coworkers, whoever it is in your space that's encouraging you to get back on the horse, and your intuition is like, I am not ready. I am, to use more horse terminology, balking at the idea of getting back on a horse, your intuition is correct. Your speed, the pace that you need to go now as a griever, your gut instinct about it is correct. People want to see us get back on a horse because they feel better about the progress we're making, about the people that we are in the world. But we do not grieve to make other people feel better. Sometimes we don't even grieve to make ourselves feel better. We grieve because we must, because we have to, because we're human. And so this instinct that you have of, I just need to stay down in the dirt for a little while. I just need to recover from this. I need to tend to my wounds after being thrown from this horse of a dream, this dream of a horse, however you'd like to phrase that. Yeah. And what you'll see, what you'll find, hopefully, when you stay down in the dirt for a little while after being thrown from your horse, is there's actually a lot of other people down there on the ground with you. If you can't think of anybody in your immediate life, I'm happy to be one of them. So I am reaching across the sand and the dirt to say hello. Yes, there are other grievers who are not ready to resume the lives they had before, to decide what their next dream is, to figure out, where am I going now? In the aftermath of loss, that requires too many answers, too much clarity that I don't have yet, and I am in pain. That's the information that I have right now. I am in pain. I don't have the energy to pursue just yet. Not right now. I'm feeling called to stay down here and heal and rest and catch my breath for a while. Some of the trauma that we face, some of the hardships and the griefs we endure, and or for how long. Worked with a client once who was a caregiver for 5 years before one of her parents died. Stay down in the dirt for a while. That warrants some recouping, some taking stock, some looking around. What does the world look like now? What horse do I want to be on? Do I even want to be riding a horse anymore? In the aftermath of loss. And there will always be this chorus of voices wanting you to get back on again, because they are still living in a world where being on a horse is the most valuable position you can hold. And that's okay. That's the life that they're living. And it is also not the life that you're living. It does not speak to you in your grief right now. And that's okay. It is more than acceptable and reasonable to want to just hang out in the dirt for a while. It's grounded. There's earth underneath your feet. It's very slow. You can watch the pace of days. You can figure out who you are now in the midst of all of this loss. You can tend to your wounds. And you can also connect to other people who are hanging out there in the dirt with you the other grievers of the world, the other ones who are taking stock of whether or not they actually want to get back on a horse again, or which one, or going which direction. Yeah, you have so much permission to hang out in the dirt. I invite you to take a deep breath with me here. And out. May you know, after being thrown from a horse, that your primary objective is not to get back on it. It's okay to release the horse. Let that dream, let that life that used to be, run away, leave, find a different rider, find greener pastures, or maybe go out to pasture, to retire. This dream can no longer be, or you can no longer be the person riding it. And as friends, family, coworkers, anybody else of direct or indirect influence in your life, even yourself, pressures you to get back on the horse, to resume your life, know that it's okay to pause and to hang out in the dirt, to tend to your wounds, to be nourished in this space by yourself or by other people who are grieving, to rest, to take stock, to ask important questions, to watch the clouds, to pursue things that maybe you'd forgotten about, or unearth as you're in the dirt, spaces and places within you that had been left behind or that you haven't been in contact with in a while, such as your heart, your emotions, your creativity, your ability, your child self. All of these places that deserve your attention and your healing. And as you're in the dirt, may this also be a place where you learn, where you gain, after having lost so much. So that when you're ready to return to the world again, or return to a dream, or get back on a horse, that you do so with your eyes wide open, feeling energized and feeling confident in your decision to do so, not out of pressure and not out of this need to reassure others that you're okay. You are okay. The ground has got you. You may have been thrown from a horse, but there is earth underneath your body and underneath your feet. There is something beyond you holding you up. And it is okay to be here and stay for a while. Deep breath in here. And out. Thank you for joining me today on Grief Seeds. So that's all for this episode of Grief Seeds. Thank you so much for listening today. You can find additional grief support at shelbyforsythia.com or by following me on social media at shelbyforsythia on Facebook and Instagram. If this podcast helped you in your life after loss, please leave a review and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. And be sure to share Grief Seeds with a friend, because you never know what someone you love is going through. A huge thank you to my Patreon supporters for financially keeping this podcast on the air. If you'd like to support Grief Seeds on Patreon through a yearly or monthly pledge, you can do so at patreon.com/shelbyforsythia. My Patreon supporters get access to behind-the-scenes content, including a once-a-month grief support call with me and 5 90-minute workshops with topics decided by grievers themselves. Again, that website is patreon.com/shelbyforsythia. Music for Grief Seeds is performed by Addie Goldstein. As always, my dear grief growers, it was beautiful sharing this space and time with you today. I see you. I am so proud of you and the work that you're doing in the world, and I love you. because even through grief, we are growing.